sit up straight. We really help.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July meeting of the Whangamata Community Board. And I will start by calling for apologies. We have an apology from Tamsin. Accepted by Gary, seconded by Terry. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carrying. Now we move to item 1.2, the public forum. And first up we have Kim Hobson from the Whangamata Youth Event. Do we have Kim online?
Do she? We'll just switch her mic on.
I thought it was
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I was just sure. I thought it was you.
Have you got me now?
Hi Kim, yes.
Good morning. How are you?
Marina, the floor is all yours.
Okay, so I'm planning a youth event in Whangamatā on the 30th and 31st of December. I emailed some information through yesterday. Basically, I'd like it to take place at the Whangamatā Rugby Grounds or the Aiken Road Reserve. I believe it'll help stem some of the youth issues around that time of the year. Giving them some entertainment and something to do and keeping them off the streets. It'll be a fully secure event with security in place and live entertainment. I have submitted a draft application to the TCDC already, and that is in the process now and underway. Obviously, it'll be subject to some conditions. So ideally, I'm here to see if you've got any questions for me, and I'd certainly like to get the support of the Whangamata Community Board on this event.
Thank you, Kim. Got some questions, Terry?
Yeah, Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
Kim, can you tell us a little bit about the genre of the function you're putting on? What kind of event is it in terms of music? Or?
So it's a music event. There will be a stage. There will be DJs. At the moment, I've got Hegley Consultants doing an acoustic report that will go in to support the application next week. The amplified noise on the 30th will be finished by 11 p.m. and on the 31st on New Year's Eve, amplified noise will be finished at 10 past midnight.
Okay, thank you.
It's important to note that there's no alcohol available at this event. So if you are a youngster coming to this event, it's only a youth event for 16 to 20-year-olds. So if you're trying to get in and you're intoxicated, you won't get in for a start. There'll be free water available all night. There'll be food stalls, plus all the entertainment.
Another question, if I can, through the chair. Will there be a drug tent or some sort of safety net tent? Or
you know, that's something that I want to discuss further with the police. There's two sides to that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So that hasn't been decided yet, but that certainly will be discussed with security and with police and St. John's. St. John's have already provided a quote for this event. So I think what will happen will be in the best of most or all of the stakeholders' interests, including the youth.
Okay, thanks. A couple of questions from me. I presume it is a ticketed event.
Yes, it is.
And how do you ensure that only 16 to 20-year-olds are attending, or is it not going to be such a...
No, so there'll be ID checks on the gate. It'll also be, all the event rules will be published prior to the event taking place. And as other events around the country that are for youth only, they will need to provide ID, proof of their age.
Okay, thank you.
If I could ask a couple of questions.
Yes,
I gather you've had some previous experience in running events.
yes. I've worked at Northern Base, up in Mangawai Heads. I've actually had a standing resource consent for the Aiken Road Reserve previous to this. That was issued in 2014. And I've worked on a number of smaller events around the place as well. I did the Sonic Waves Festival in Whangamatā. And yeah, also numerous small events.
I gather you probably haven't sorted the price out yet because you need to see what costs are going to be.
That's correct.
He said it was.
Okay, any further questions?
Yeah, I was just, hi Kim.
Hi.
I was just wondering, how big an area are you looking at, sort of?
Oh, it's on the map. It's shown on the map.
Yeah, I know. How big is that?
It's probably about a third of the area or slightly more.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the security that we know happens on the outside of fences.
Yeah, so the arena is fully fenced, and security teams will be on the outside and on the inside of the venue. A full security plan has been sent to the TCDC with the planning proposal document for resource consent.
Yeah, because quite often it's not inside, it's the outside that it creates the
Yeah,
problem.
and yeah, we fully understand that, and have taken measures within our security plan to eliminate that.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. So you're looking for a letter from the board to say whether we support the proposal or not, and we'll discuss this later and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, so a letter of support from the board would be great. I also attached in the information yesterday a letter of support from the council, and I've also attached was a letter that we sent out to all the neighbours around the area, just advising them of the proposed event. And to date, we haven't had any response for or against from them.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. No, thanks for all the information and wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave's got his hand up, sorry, Kim.
Oh, Dave, did you have a question? So,
Kim, can you just tell us which security firm that you're working with on this?
I'm working with Arthur Brown at the moment, and potentially we're looking at a quote from another security firm as well.
Okay, thank you.
Arthur is pretty experienced in the Whangamatā area. He's done a lot of work down at Williamson Park. He also has done Joe's Farm.
thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, next we have Helen McKay. Helen, are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome, Helen.
Hi, welcome. Just getting on to talk to you, just to give a few updates of what the Resource Recovery Trust is up to. Recently we've gained access to a storage shed, and we have a van. So as a result, we'll be looking at doing more e-waste collections on slightly smaller scale, as in excluding whiteware, very large items, but we are planning to be present once a month at the Sunday market, so that people can bring in smaller items to us that can be sent on to the recycling suppliers. We're also in discussion with the Plastic Forum to begin through hopefully New World getting a soft plastics collection going. So we're working on that at the moment. We also note that the waste management and minimisation plan review consultation has begun, and we'll be participating in that, of course, because we feel the success of any TCDC management and minimisation plan is very important to be in conjunction with community groups that are working in the same field, and we're looking to provide submissions for that and have a very collaborative, cooperative type of plan that can be acted on between TCDC and our community group. So we are obviously striving to get a resource recovery centre here still. That again is in process. We have the Seagull Centre where we work with very closely, just celebrated their 16-year birthday. So this is a very established organisation with a lot of knowledge and skill and organisation, who will be sharing, collaborating with us to provide a similar thing with a bit of a Whangamatā twist, but really there's no actual reinventing the wheel here. It's just applying it to another town in a different site. So we're getting a lot of help. Whitianga are just about to build their one at their new transfer station site. But again, we'll all be working together both now and in the future. And there's plenty of organisation help available, and plenty of knowledge to share that can make, we hope, that sort of thing happen here without undue hiccups. And we're just really looking forward to getting something going there so that we can help the local people and the local environment to actually see something established as soon as possible. That was really it. Just a little update there for you.
Thanks for that update, Helen. Any questions for board members?
Yeah, I just got one, Helen. How's your discussions going with Anna over a location at the current transfer station site? Has that had any advancement on finding a location there for your group?
Well, a consultant was going to the site, or has been to the site, and evaluated it. There is a small, probably a small part can be in the construction and demolition area, can be arranged, and we're just trying to keep in touch with the solid waste team so that that sort of thing can move ahead. But the predominant activity is better suited to the Lindsay Road location.
Did that come out of the consultant's report, did it?
Yes, although I haven't really seen the consultant's report, but that's what I've been told by Anna and the solid waste team.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, thank you very much, Helen, for the update.
Great, thank you. Bye-bye.
And next on the public forum, we have Andrew Hartley. Welcome, Andrew.
Good morning, board. I am here to represent the Whangamatā Ocean Sports Club as their Rear Commodore. You will have received some papers in regards to a variation of the lease for the land underneath the Whangamata Sports Club. And I'm here this morning just to explain it a bit to you and ask for the community board support. Whangamata Sports Club has been at this site since the early 80s, started off with a building sitting on poles. In 1998, a new building was built, and that incorporated public toilets and a harbour master's office. In 2001, the harbour master came under the control of the Waikato Regional Council. So TCDC have not had a harbour master for over 20 years. Yet it's still shown on our lease as supplying an office to TCDC for the purpose of a harbour master. Basically, the lease issue came to light last year when we started consulting with stakeholders over doing some proposed reclad of our building. And since then, we've spent about a year talking with your properties and lease team to nut out the ambiguities and the inaccuracies with our lease. While doing that, we also found that the way that the lease is designed with the building only was very messy and untidy. So hence the reason why the Ocean Sports Club have proposed the lease area that you've got there in front of you in the blue lines to incorporate the footpath areas immediately outside of the club rooms, to incorporate the service area behind the kitchen, and then just to link the areas between the existing paved areas and existing footpaths. Our plan is to adopt this area, not own it, but adopt it and look after it. There are currently no accessible routes to the public toilets or to the Whangamata Ocean Sports Club. Just to clarify, an accessible route is a route from the car park to a building that can be used by people who are impaired. The current lip or access into the men's toilet does not comply with the building code, nor does the curbing around the car park comply with any of the accessible routes. As it stands now, that is still lawful because it's in existing areas. We're looking to move this forward and to make it more accessible. The Ocean Sports Club is an intergenerational club. We have young kids and babies through to grandparents coming there. The property and lease people have come back with a proposed areas to decline. To speak to them, the area to the southeast, the current grassed area, the reason that we applied for that area is just to tidy up so it makes it a nice straight line. It also provides an access between a ranch slider at the in our dining area through to the paved area. The area to the northeast that they are asking to be declined, we incorporated that area because we believe that that area would probably be needed to create an accessible route that would be legal. So in regards to that, if these areas, particularly the northeast, the northern area, if that is not approved, then it's going to put another layer of bureaucracy in there, as we will have to come and consult with the council to make a path. As you can see, the path to the north of the club, it goes directly onto the car park, namely the road. So there is no access between the top of the sand dune area or the publicly accessible paved area in front of the club to toilets. So a person would have to come down the path onto the road or car park, along that road car park, and then come to another accessible ramp to get to the toilets. So otherwise, in regards to the reports, having spoken with the properties team, we do already have a very good relationship with the local iwi, Ngāti Pū, and we have regular contact with them. The area has had archaeological work done. The club did that when they did the additions. There is also a portion of land that has already been modified in front of the club that goes towards the wharf area. We have no intention of upsetting anyone or of doing unnecessary works, and we would also be consulting with them as we have done in the past. The public access to the paved area will still remain. I want to make this very clear that we have no intention whatsoever of denying public access, and that is part of the agreement that we already have with the iwi and also with liquor licensing. So we have also consulted with liquor licensing about the proposed lease changes, and there's no issues there. So basically, we submit, that is our submission. We see that the paces have been areas of decline. That is up to the community board. I've just given you some reasons why we have applied for it. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? We are discussing this later on in the agenda. Any questions for Andrew?
So just to confirm that the grassed areas are going to remain as they are. It's just you taking on the responsibility, so to speak.
Yeah, the grassed areas we intend to start as they are. The northern end, like I said to you, that may be a place where we would probably look to put an accessible route between the toilets and getting to that hump in the sand dune, so that people can get up there and have a look at that beautiful view. But the southern end, no, definitely, we've got no intentions of changing that. It's just to tidy it up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Thanks for that. Cheers.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Right, someone like to move the public forum? Move by Kay. I'll second that. All those in favour? No. Against? Carried. Do we have any items not on the agenda? No. Any conflicts of interest, members? No. Okay, so we'll move on to minutes for confirmation. And these are the minutes held on the 21st of June. Moved by Kay.
No.
Question? No, well, I'll move them. Yeah, move them.
Oh, well, I'll move it.
And second by Terry, and I'll open them for discussion. Anyone got anything to raise? Okay.
I would like to know, under members' reports, why the dissatisfaction with the work programs was not recorded.
No, through the chair, that was under the work program section. It's been under the.
I brought it up in members' report as well.
The members' reports are for recording what meetings were attended in public places, so I believe that was appropriate to.
Also concerns from members.
I'd have to agree with the staff on this one. Members' reports to tell what you've been doing round about the town, not to talk about a particular item on the agenda. So if you've got concerns,
I'll go back and read my piece of paper that I had 6 years ago.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that we don't do verbatim either, but we do try to capture things as much as possible, which is done in the work program section.
So therefore, it should have been through here then.
Under the work program section?
Yeah.
Right? Yep, so it is, I believe that it's under the work program, all of the actions and expressing, but I'm happy to put a comment that you weren't.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was fully reported.
then I can
And
see
also
some
days
staff comments in there.
satisfaction,
I can
the
see
lighting
comments.
or lack of.
Happy to note that.
Yeah.
And yes, just the attendance of the meeting, Gary was actually on Teams, not actually at the meeting.
Agreed. Okay, so we can have that. Have the minutes reflect that. Are there any other corrections to the minutes, the decisions taken? Which are the minutes are supposed to record, they're not a Hansard. So now they've been moved and seconded and corrected to reflect the fact that Gary was online. That correction, everyone happy? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Now move on to item 2.1, and do we have Bruce online?
It's great from he's just here.
Oh, even better.
Bruce taken that one.
Oh, Bruce, thanks.
Sorry.
All right.
Oh,
Yes.
hello. Good morning, Bruce.
Tēnā koutou katoa. The item for me to talk about is the road naming policy and procedure that has been written following a council request to review the current road naming procedure. This road naming policy on your order paper has had input from a group of staff over several months to get it to the stage where we've taken it to the respective community boards. The comments that we've received from Coromandel, Colville and Mercury Bay have related to acceptance of the policy, apart from one matter that they raised in the road naming procedure under the six selection criteria. If you wanted to scroll down to that, I'm not sure what page that's on, but
I'm just sharing on the screen there for you.
oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay. It's those four words. The selection criteria has appropriate names that should be considered in order of priority, and the question has been asked whether those should be in order of priority, and we've had a request from two boards to delete those four words. The board can consider that, and if they want to make a comment on that or any other matter in the road naming policy, that'll be reported back to council probably at the September meeting. We've got to go to Thames Community Board tomorrow, and that does the final roundup of the community boards. And I'm just open for any questions if the members of the board have those.
Who are those four words? I've lost them again.
On page 17.
So in order of priority, the other boards have requested they be removed.
No, I go along with what the other boards were saying there. I'd like to move that we include that in our resolution, the removal of those words. That's seconded by Kay. And we'll
I've got that word on there.
Okay.
Recommends that council remove the words in order of priority under the selection criteria.
okay. Another one, Bruce, is in regards to an existing road where it's proposed to change the name. We had this crop up a few years ago here where we had Ngāti Pū Place, I think it is a place, and it was for many years it was one word when it should have been two words, and so we fully understood that that was an error and it should have been corrected, and that was the staff recommendation. The way it's written here is that we're going to consult with the residents of that road. Consultation to me means you're going to tell them what you're doing, you're listening with a view to be persuaded that what you're doing is wrong, whereas in a case like that, it's more an information rather than consultation. So I'd hate to think that the residents of Ngāti Pū Place thought they were being consulted on the basis of being able to influence the decision. So I'm not quite sure how to phrase that. There'll be cases where you change an existing name where there isn't really an option. It has to be done. Could have been for safety reasons. It could have been, I know you've seen instances down in the other parts of the country where people who were involved in the wars in the 1860s had their names removed. But, not necessarily talking about that in this town, but there'll be circumstances where the case like Ngāti Pū is compelling. You do need to tell the residents what's happening and explain it, fully understand that before the change is made. But I don't think you want to be telling them that you're actually consulting with them. Does that make sense?
Yes, I fully understand what you're saying, and there will be cases where, despite the level of consultation, which appropriately should take place, because it is the name of the road where people live on, and people will have their own views about whether or not that should change. I think that the safety mechanism there is under the Local Government Act. Council has the ultimate responsibility to name roads. So irrespective of someone's entrenched view that a name shouldn't change, it's the responsibility of council itself to name or rename roads, and they'll consider, the council will consider the relevant reasons for the new name.
Through the chair, Andrew.
Bruce.
Bruce. Oh, sorry, Bruce. So therefore, why do you call it consulting then? If at the end of it, the council can actually just do what they want. Because we had quite a few people ringing about this who had lived on the street for years. They were not consulted, and yet you're saying in this roading naming thing that you will have full consultation. So what does full consultation mean? If you're going to go ahead and change something. Anyway.
Leslie, do you want to say something, Leslie? Right.
Good morning, elected members. Leslie Vifus here, Manager Strategy and Policy. I'd like to point out that our significance and engagement policy includes a spectrum of consultation that goes from informing through to collaboration. And so there's different forms of consultation. For example, you know, what the chair has just been talking about, where you've got a correction to a name where clearly it's wrong. I think what we would be doing is informing rather than consulting, you know, in the sense that we take on, well, obviously we would take on board views, but we'd be more around an information type of consultation.
Oh, no, that's fine. If that's the intention, is to, in that particular situation, informing is the right thing to do. Then
yes, it would just depend on the situation. Okay,
as long as people don't get the impression that they're going to be consulted on with a view to changing the council's mind in that situation. Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. Terry.
Yes, one for Bruce or Leslie. We supported the RSA to go around and change the name on there, or keep the names of the streets that tied to the RSAs and put a poppy on them. Is this going to be influenced by these decisions in this, or is that still to carry on?
I don't see that this policy would have any effect on that, because it's a policy that is for the name of a road. What you're talking about is putting a symbol on the sign that goes up on the road. Is that, as I understand it?
That's correct, yes, as long as somebody doesn't challenge the name of the road. It was normally those roads that were tied to the ships or aircraft or something that was consistent with the war that was named at the time. So, yeah, we would like to think that that carries on. So we're just hoping that there's no influence of that on this policy.
I don't see that this policy would be contrary to that procedure.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
No further questions. So we've got I'll move the item with the amendment regarding removing those 4 words. And seconded by Kay. Everyone clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, moving on to.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, the board.
Yes. And now moving on to item 3.1, variation of the lease. Do we have John online?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Good morning, John. Did you listen to the presentation?
I caught half of it.
Which half did you catch?
The latter half.
The second half. Okay, now I was going to ask you if there was anything he said that which would influence the way that your report and recommendations have been written.
I heard nothing that he said that would cause me to make a change.
Okay, so I'll to open up. I'll move the recommendation and seconded by.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we'll have to, yeah, seconded by Terry.
Yeah.
Now I'll open it for discussion and questions. Okay.
At number 6, you that's what he was talking about of the 2 areas, the little bits of grassed areas. Is that correct?
Yes, I heard him talk about that. Yes.
So what is the actual? I mean, they're so minuscule. What is the absolute reason why they cannot still keep looking after those areas? Because they're not going to do anything with them.
Yeah, that's the decision the board can make. Our community facilities people were very sensitive to this reserve in particular, given there's a lot of history, a lot of archaeological history on this particular site, and they wanted to just ensure that any potential or risk of disruption to the site was kept at an absolute minimum. So that was, if you like, the decision to exclude those 2 grass areas is more one of caution rather than anything else.
So maintenance is fine as long as there's no sort of disturbance to the ground. Is that what you're feeling, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there any way that they talk of the northeast part? We may that's the only one that potentially may need to be encroached upon. Is there any way we can do it that the other one can be kept as they propose, and that just under 6 be just the northeast one?
Yes, that is a recommendation that the council can make, or the board can make to the council. I personally wouldn't have any issues with that.
That's good. Do you want to move that amendment?
Yes, I'll move that amendment.
I'll second that.
Okay, did you catch that, Esther?
Yes, so we're going to just go over it. Chair recommends to council that it decline the proposal to include the northeast grassed areas outlined in red. I won't be outlined in red because 2 of them are outlined in red.
And the northeast is the one that
was the one. No,
Northeast is outside the harbour.
It's the one which is how would you best describe it?
Outside the harbour.
I've got the map
Harbour
here.
master's office.
Yeah.
John, can you help us with the
Sure.
right wording here?
You could refer to it simply as the seaward portion.
Yeah.
I sort of seaward though.
The seaward portion by the restaurant.
By the car park.
No, it's restaurant. No, we're talking.
Oh, you talked about
that's the one that's going to be taken out of this, and the other one will remain with us. Yeah.
I just want to make sure we don't get the right wording here.
So who's going to look after them when they don't look after?
Oh, they will, just a matter of course, but that can, as it would have happened, but we just decline on that one simply because of the need that it's going to probably have to perhaps have a pathway, and that might then need consultation with others.
to decline the proposal to include the seaward side grassed area, not glass, sorry, like grassed areas, is that the word you mean there? And do you want to also note that you approve the other outlined area specifically, or?
Well, if it's just,
I thought that was the one they wanted the footpath over onto the
Well,
north.
that's right, but that may happen, we don't know. So we're just saying that can remain, that can be declined, but we can accept the other grassed area being under.
the one closer to the water.
No, the one by the restaurant closer to the sea. It's the one, if you look at it, if you look at the map, it's on the south.
I thought they were talking about the footpath would go from the toilets up over the knoll on outside the harbour.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I agree. And that's the one that would remain under decline.
And they could.
Yeah, but the other bit's not going to get touched.
Through the chair, just got it on the screen. Can you just clarify which one's which one you're declining, wanting to decline there?
Yes. The one on the right, the bottom one you're looking at, is the one that they're going to leave, and the one at the top end is where the path could possibly go. Is that right?
That's the one where the path.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
So which one are we declining then?
We're declining the top one.
The top one.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I can outline it in a minute.
yeah, so we just decline the top one. Okay, and if that's the one we're declining, that one goes through.
Excuse me, through the chair, are we declining it then mainly because they might put a path? What we said, there was to be no path put there, but they maintain it.
Well, I think they will maintain anyway. They won't want it being overgrown. That's not the problem. It's once you've transferred it to them, then
But
we
it's
probably
not,
lose control over it.
it's not really a transfer, that it's just in the lease, isn't it?
Dave, got your hand up.
Just to alleviate confusion, why don't we mark 1A and 1B so that we all know when it goes ahead that that's clearly marked?
Through the chair, I'll happily link and revise the map to the minutes so we're clear which is which. Does that help?
That would help.
Yeah.
I just don't see why we can't say that no footpaths are to be put through any of it.
Well, no, we may not be saying that. It may be that because of requirements, the legislative requirements, we have to have access for handicap and other situations, and therefore we may be accepting that. We just leave that in abeyance in the meantime.
I think it's getting too specific if you're mentioning footpaths, but something else may happen.
It'll just.
Yeah, but that was the reason of
We just asking the proposal to be declined. So,
Yeah. Okay.
regarding cultural and agricultural.
I don't think it should be.
Oh, well, you vote against
I
it. Excellent. Okay, so there's no vote, so we've had that modification. I hopefully we've voted all right, but we'll know when the minutes come out. Apart from that amendment from Gary, seconded by Terry, I'll move it all in total. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
me.
Okay, voting against. Okay, passed. Right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, moving on to item 4.1, Shoreline Management Plan. Do we have Amon?
We have Jack today.
Have Jamie? Okay.
Oh, what is going on? It's all right.
Oh, they've gone all black.
How's that?
We can see you now, Jamie. Thank you for your report. I'll move the report. Put it in order, seconded by
I'll second that.
by Kay and but to get our heads around there, Amon, do you want to just give us a quick
Jamie.
Sorry, Jamie. We got it, Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah. So just some highlights from me for those reports. That we have an approved project structure with the coastal panels recommend to our SMP committee. So these reports are for your information, but if you want to provide individual feedback, you can make them today as a recorded feedback, or you can use our coast email address. And so that feedback will go to the coastal panel, all 4 of coastal panels are meeting on the 27th of July. So that'll go, all the feedback that's relevant and significant will go to the coastal panels on the 27th of July. So the due date that we're wanting for the latest to supply that feedback will be the 25th of July.
Okay, so we can either do it today or we can do it after the meeting. Thank you. Any comments?
I just, Jamie's looking for individual, not a community board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's quite important to note.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jamie, the question I asked yesterday, the same today, is have you had any feedback from the public since our last meetings with the public around the district?
So we had really good feedback from the public meetings, and then our coast email has recorded probably our best feedback online or via email over the 2.5-year project. So all in all, a very well consulted end of the project. So yeah, very happy with it.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And now we come to the Community Board Works Program. Oh, we have Bruce here. Welcome, Bruce.
Good morning, board. I'll just slide up to the table here.
Okay, I'll put in order. I'll move that, seconded by Kay, and we'll go through it as we normally do, page by page, and starting on the first page.
Through the chair, could I just say thank you for putting the.
That's all right, no problem. Yes,
Thank you, Bruce.
So through the chair. So Dean, we worked a lot with Dean on this and his team, and there was some good feedback that came out of this board meeting last time. And so as you see, as Kay's mentioned, we added an additional column in there, and we work hard with the team to try and make sure we're using the columns correctly and everything's kind of lining up. We don't always get there 100% of the time, but hopefully that's a decent improvement, which we've carried across all the other boards as well.
Thank you. It's a lot easier to understand what's going to be carried forward and
It's much better.
Okay, so moving down the first page. So I know last time we had considerable discussion regarding the boardwalk.
Yes.
And there's lots of issues there about what has been consulted and what's still to be consulted, and then the showers in and the showers out, and what docs are agreeing to and where things are at. So any further update?
No real further update through the chair on that one, apart from that we're correct, Mr. Chairman, that basically what went out was just a very basic was the wooden boardwalk, and then obviously there was subsequent discussions around other features, including showers and other bits and pieces which weren't included. So at this stage it was just that basic kind of timber boardwalk was approved. So so it's just trying to move on and get that happening. Obviously things have moved on a lot around contractor pricing. That's presented its own set of challenges, which you'll be well aware of. So we're looking to carry forward the money for that project. So it has been a challenge, that's for sure.
So through the chair, Bruce, so far the cost toward the end of last month is 56,887. So that is just sort of really all on consulting and stuff like that, is it?
Correct, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we've got one piece of timber sitting in the yard, I think, actually, for 10 metres.
Yeah, it does. So through the chair, it does cost a lot once you get the designs done, all the consultation, all those different steps.
It's just going to eat it all away.
Is there any chance of a shower that had been proposed?
The shower?
Yeah.
I think at this stage the team was saying they had to look at coming back later on to do that, so that wasn't part of that consultation approval that DOC provided. And so I think that would be a second stage, I think.
But they're going to leave the existing shower that's there already.
I believe so, yeah. Sorry if that's what you meant.
Well, no, I'm just wondering if it can be in addition to it, that's all, but the one. Yeah.
Bruce, with the design concept, there was several beach accesses down there now of the top area, and they were talking about reducing down to 4.
Yeah.
Is that design concept still ratified, or is it still?
I believe so. So I believe that the intention was always to try and minimise the number of access points onto the beach, from a, it's just best practice really from a dune, protection of the dunes, those kind of things. But again, I don't have all the detail in my head at this stage because obviously there's a fine level of detail in each of these projects, but happy to kind of chase down any.
Well, one of them is to drop them back on an angle so they didn't get washed out all the time.
Yes, yeah. So that's worked well in other locations. That we have a bit of an angle to the beach. Definitely, it doesn't have the same. It doesn't get stripped out the same as just straight out on the beach.
I was just wondering, just the storm that's been, for example, going from the surf top that goes down there, they've got that big thick plastic.
Yes.
But it's all been gouged out underneath. And I suppose that's just putting sand back under. And
pretty much. What we do is just let's push sand back up.
I suppose it was just pushing sand in it.
It's challenging a lot. Get those big events.
And that other one further down the beach where the water pipe is just blowing out. Quite a bit. I suppose it's always going to happen.
That is going to happen, so it's designed to function like that, and it doesn't look the best when it does that, but it is designed to work like that to make sure that the storm functions correctly.
So how long's that pipe been in there?
I think it's been in there since it was constructed originally.
Which was a long
time. But it's normally buried. And it only gets blown out when you have those big events, which, you guys have had. So I think you guys probably got it worse than the district actually, when we had all that rain around. So,
There used to be a walkway down there, which is no longer a walkway. And it's now gone across someone whose property's there, who's a little bit edgy about it. So it looks like it's going to be hard to reinstate. The walkway.
They can walk over the weir that doesn't work.
We're not talking about don't mention the law, the weir.
The CCTV cameras too, maybe Eileen, that money there, that's not OPEX for the running of them, is it? That's in another budget. What's the leftover? This is just extra CapEx leftover. We've had a request, I don't know if you hear from the police for another 2 cameras, but I don't think we got the money in this year's budget for next year. So.
I know they're pretty keen on cameras, as you are.
It does work better for them in terms of tracking.
Definitely.
They do work well.
They do.
I noticed that both the Island View and the Boardwalk, which are carrying forward projects, have got a completion date of 30th of June 23. Is that just to throw days in, or is that being pessimistic?
I think at this stage is being a little bit more pessimistic / realistic, just to make sure we don't.
I would hope the Island View doesn't take.
No, I would hope not to. But I think at this stage they don't have any real clarity on when that final date would be, and so they've just pushed it out to the end of the
Okay, so we can ignore that date.
We definitely want to do better than that date, correct?
Okay,
Go over the page, have we?
to the next page. Footpath construction. So that's carrying forward to next year. Dave's you got your hand up there, Dave?
Street lights.
Bruce, can I just ask, if the intention is to put the shower in, would it not be prudent to put it in at the same time? And with it being put in later, will it mean that something's going to have to be relifted to install it? Or should we in fact be looking at putting the piping area in now to avoid that later on?
So through the chair, it would be definitely easier to do everything now. The challenges around that approval that has come from DOC, which doesn't include the shower, and that's why we can't do the shower straight away. We're going to have to go through some other process to get approval, which I know does seem a little bit.
There won't be public hearings, will there?
I'm not for a shower, but hey,
Can you go back to DOC on that?
The team did go back to DOC on it.
And I said no.
Very fixed on what was approved and what was outside that approval. So I think that's something we've got to keep working on. I don't anticipate that'll be a huge construction issue. It's not a big issue to go back and put that in later from a construction perspective. It's all around the approvals.
Will they even know if it went in?
If you go down and finish shower, Ken, maybe that would be fine, but no, I couldn't do that unfortunately. So.
If you ask and get refused, it's like the red flag who flew under the hardest, but he asked for permission and they refused it, so he flew under and got prosecuted. He just flying under, he didn't have a problem.
Yeah, forgiveness.
Just on the island,
Right there for us.
sorry, just on the island view one, I think all board members that had a view to express have expressed that through to staff there. So there should be no further delays regarding the design of that one.
No, we can send it out for consultation.
Which is good.
Okay.
So is there a starting date or you wait for the consultation to come in?
Consultation will go first and then after that, the construction date. So next meeting would be able to give you a better idea of construction time.
Okay.
Before more money is eaten up.
Is there anything on the?
Last about the left curve, happy with the results so far?
I think so. I haven't, I understand the team happy. I haven't been out and had a look myself, but I'll look out there after this meeting before I get back. You comfortable?
Yeah, I was a bit concerned first of all that they were only going up to the driveways and stopping with the lip curve and there was, maybe it was because people using it, I don't know. Yeah, they seem to have cut through there now.
Yeah.
So it's still a bit different, it's all fine.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear.
So how much money are they actually carrying over for them? Seeing we haven't spent 317 June, end of June.
Well, they're saying, so we're saying we'll spend 317 by the end of June. So even though it's the end of June and we're past that,
Yeah.
the bills don't often come in. They don't come in until July. So all the final bills are stuck.
The whole thing has been
The whole thing's been done. So there's been no carry forward.
Okay. Any further questions?
Footpath, is the Kenny-Mile one still in the budget or?
Carrying forward.
Carrying forward. for that.
Carrying forward.
To next year.
Yeah.
Frankie, what are standards? I see the pipes blowing out in the rain that got through the one by the new, on the back road, the water treatment plant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, had a lot of water out there the other day. But they've got that okay to do that land.
The land swap. Yeah, so we had that paper went up to council last time about doing that changeover around the boundary adjustments and everything. So I think everything's moving forwards on that. That was given, which was good. Good. Keep the progress moving on that one.
Yeah, that's good.
And the metering, the 1,029,000, that's going to be enough to do the whole town, is it?
No, so that won't do the whole town, but basically that'll purchase a whole load of materials and equipment. We've got projects in the LTP to carry on with that, the council, the council's funded. So this was just out of that government money. So this gives us a good push and a good start for Whangamatā. And then we carry on with the money we've already put in the long-term plan.
Through the cabinet. So, Briz, when do we actually see where they're going to start?
With the water meters?
Yeah.
So that's a little way off yet. I don't anticipate we'd be doing anything this financial year that we've just gone into yet. It'll be the next financial year when we get into that.
We've got 2024.
Yeah, I noticed it's 2024.
Was three waters going to be up?
But
2024.
But, I know there is a lot of murmurings through town that people actually would like to know, at some stage.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we'll take all the learnings we did on the Whitianga project. And actually that one went pretty well. The team worked really hard, did a really good job. And we had only positive feedback come back about the Whitianga water meter project and about the advance notice people got and the changes they're making to people's water connections. But overall, it was a really successful project. So I don't anticipate any issues.
Except for ran over budget.
It went over budget from the very high level initial estimates that we made. No.
So do you think Whangamatā is going to do the same?
Well, we don't have a final cost for it yet. So
there's a few connections stored out there.
Oh, there sure is. So Whangamatā does have a lot, as you guys will be aware with this. There's one house, there's now three houses. That was long sections here in Whangamatā. So that where there's a pipe goes into the front house and then runs under the house, pops out for the next house. Those kind of things do have to get sorted.
And what happens to the people that are still using the water pumps?
The
balls.
balls. So they'll get a connection and a manifold where a meter can be screwed into it. They won't get a meter installed at this stage. They still keep paying the serviceable charge, but they just use their own bore for the time. And they say, actually, a bore's broken or we want to go on to council supply, then they get a meter screwed.
It's actually cheaper to go on council supply, not using any water than to pay the non-council.
Yeah, but they're very stubborn about staying on.
Yeah, and Whitianga had a lot of challenges which we still got to work through around some apartment buildings that they built. So there's like one pipe that goes in and it's off. How do you split that up? So there's a lot of work going on doing that. There'll be a couple of those in they won't have the same level of challenges for the NZ.
And did the smart meter components come from overseas finally?
They did, yeah, they did finally, yeah, they did, yeah, semi-smart, smart, but.
I was going to say, how do you get on with the lines?
Yeah, sit the opposite way to come back.
I was going to say, is Whangamatā like the angle of the apartment blocks, like down by.
So will we, yeah, that'll be the same issue.
There'll be one pipe going in and.
Often when it splits off, and it just depends how they lay them at the time as to whether it's easy to put a manifold in with a whole load of meters. Or whether you've got to start looking a lot more, which a couple of the younger ones are like that.
In terms of informing the community, have we put anything in the newspapers? You know, we do the flyer in the newspaper. Have we mentioned what's happening? There's sort of a just what about meters.
I'm not aware of anything yet. I don't think because of the way out.
Yeah, so
Something's got to happen.
there has, in the local papers, we do like a monthly ad, but
Yeah.
also there's direct letters going out to all the affected neighbours, all the affected properties, to give them a heads up about what's happening.
Okay, yeah, so it doesn't come as a surprise. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I'll just talk about the toilets if we can. Island View ones, I went and had a look at the other day, walked around it, and they've got it boxed up for the floor, for the slab. It's really small. It really concerns me. The trees have caused the issue, haven't they? Because they were going to put a big wash basin thing in and all, and that's had to go because they can't chop the trees down. Is that right?
I'm not quite sure about the wash basin part of it, but they did have to shift the building because of the trees.
They weren't allowed to, they wanted to cut one tree down and they weren't allowed to, so they squashed it up.
Was a resource consent.
Yeah, it really sort of disappointing because it's very, it's about this size of this table for four.
It's about the size of that, and then.
It's less than that.
I am
Really
also,
disappointed that we couldn't, use the original size was to have four pans, a nice clean wash your hand area and all that, which would be nice, but.
I am concerned too about the load massage. If that is the pad that it's going to sit on, it's still very low
In relation to.
and where how the water comes in through that.
Right.
Well, they moved it back to me, Jane.
Yeah, I know they've moved it back, but if you remember the last time we had.
Yeah, all the stormwater
comes through there.
Yeah, I'll check with the team and make sure they're kind of comfortable with everything's in hand. But
Yeah.
I
Even
appreciate the feedback you guys are giving me, so, yeah.
because we had a look, we had a look at it, and to me, it's still pretty low. Especially after that last lot of rain, because there was a lot of water sitting in the back of it.
It's probably things we could do, well, there will be things we could do if we need to.
That's what I mean. I think they should just maybe look at it.
We
after
have to
a
check
bit.
with
I
the
think
police.
so.
Yeah, exactly. Challenge and stuff. But anyway, I'll take a note and I'll check.
It's just that the water, if you go down and have a look, Bruce, you'll see the water sits at the back of it. Well, sort of the back to the side.
Another one we discussed last month, of course, is the dump station.
Yeah.
Any advance on that?
I haven't had any.
Andrew came and AJ came and spoke to us about it.
Yes.
Being really concerned about the distance away and where the pipes go.
Yeah.
It's quite a big drama apparently, so.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. I haven't had anything back from the team to say they can't move forward on that one. So, yeah.
Bruce, can I just ask while we're on the dump station,
Yeah.
is there any way that TCDC can put a sign there, no parking for cars? Because
There is one, it's a round thing of that.
it's about that big. And I've had several rings from motorhome owners who can't get their motorhomes in there because there are cars.
Right.
And that's if there's the mechanics have got their cars along there, and also if there's something going on at the rugby union.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So maybe just a square that's fenced off. I don't know how you could do it, but it really is a problem.
We can review the signage, but.
The sign is not adequate.
I'll check right now.
There's one car parked there every day.
Yeah, so I'll check the bylaw, because I'd say two things. If it is currently prohibited, then we can change the sign immediately and start enforcing it.
And the sign doesn't actually say.
If it's not, then we don't really want to go changing the sign too much, but the parking bylaw is coming up for review in the next 6 months. We are workshopping 3 bylaws with you today, but we can raise it with Leslie and make sure that in the new bylaw, we do address that issue. And I guess we've got competing priorities here because you've touched on.
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about the workers' vehicles because I know that's where the workshop and new will start. But I guess we've got to be careful not to prohibit it in terms of that's where on rugby days at part 2. So
it's really only, there's only really 2 parts.
Oh, you think it's just a small
There's
section?
really only 2 parts that don't need to be used. Because there's no way would I take my motorhome in there if that car is constantly parked there. It's too long and it's a ghastly design anyway.
So the other options, Bruce, rather than the parking bylaw, would be working with the road and park thing for a physical obstruction that.
Yeah, I think we all looked at trying to arrange people to drive through with some sort of fence around it, so people knew there was a place to go only if you were dumping stations.
Yeah.
But we were waiting for whether there's the right place for the dump station, so maybe we jumped the gun.
I think there's stuff we can do as part of that project to make sure.
Because it's as you turn in, as you come into it, there's always a car parked there.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You did have to swing in.
You need to be able to swing in and straighten up.
I think
And I think that's why the thing is overflowing as well, because people between the van and getting to the dump station, there's a car always on the.
Right, okay. Well, we can look at that. Terry, I think Terry's right, though. We'll pick it up as part of that project and make sure that we put some stuff in there if we need to try and control it.
That's all it needs.
Yeah.
It's not a great big area. No. It's only really a couple of car parks.
Okay, continuing on topics, so you all happy there?
Yep, I think so. There's going to be some applications coming in.
Have we done Martin Road?
Yes, for Whangamata, I think I have. I've got 13 applications.
Oh, yeah.
How come we haven't done Martin Road?
Well, you didn't raise it, but you want to raise it.
Well, you went straight to
We're
it.
talking about that.
Yeah, we're talking about the dump station and.
The dump station.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was meaning that one, sorry, the new beach road.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
Oh,
At the end of Martin.
I think AJ's not here.
You can ask the question. I never know. I might know. Probably.
No, just
The money's been
how
carried.
it's going, because it says expected to finish in August.
Yeah, I haven't had any more detail on that. Sorry, Karen. But I understand everything's moving forwards. So yeah.
I went down for a walk to try and find where the peg was. I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure where it's going to go.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I gave up. So I don't know, it's going somewhere. Yeah.
I think it's by those trees.
When it gets there, it'll be fine.
Between those trees.
Yeah, so we're in the tree.
But I just thought, well, if it's going to be finished by August, there's nothing much there at the moment to, we're sort of.
And it's a plot one. Yeah, I won't take it.
I know it's a plot one, but you've got to have some foundations, don't you?
You do. So there is a bit of work to do in time.
Okay, so there's nothing more. I'll put that. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Now we move on to item 5.1. Thank you, Bruce. The action schedule. And bring that up. What's still open?
Close. Transfer, breakdown. Close, transfer. Open.
Yeah, maybe Bruce might be able to just up there.
Sorry.
If we have a look at the agenda, the question from Tamsin. If there's a cost limit for projects we listed on the GETS.
If there's a cost limit.
Yeah, so like what's the threshold for when we submit quotes, but we don't go through GETS, we go through.
So we can't say through the chair, we can put stuff on GETS, but we often use tender online. So yeah, and the limits around that, you've got it once you've over $100,000 our procurement policy says that over $100,000 you go to the open market. So you don't have to use GETS, you don't have to use tender online, but Link online, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But you've got to go to the open market. You've got to advert in the New Zealand Herald. Right. It's got to be some public process. The only way around that is if we have like a procurement exemption. So under our procurement policy, there are rules that if you don't follow the open market process, you can fill out a tender, procurement exemption. The team will fill out. That has to be approved by the group manager of that group. Now, the reasons you might do that are that a specific contractor has local knowledge, or a specific contractor can really do it fast and you want to try and get it done quickly. There's going to be a good reason. Because we get Audit New Zealand, when they come in every year, multiple times in the year, they go through and check those things. You can guarantee the one you don't have an exemption for, they'll pull out and say, what process did you follow to award this work? So that's the process around that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, well, I'll put the action schedule and seconded by Kay. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, now moving on to members' reports. So people tell us what they're doing and planning to do, etc. Dave. Hello, Dave. We'll start with Gary.
It looks like you might actually.
Well, it's something I think we need to put our minds to after we had a discussion this morning about the rugby grounds for the people 16 to 20. Unfortunately, we don't have the Joe's Farm that's happening. So what's going to happen? I'm more concerned about the 15s and unders and families. Whether or not we should still be looking for something really for young people and families with family attendance for Williamson Park. And I think that's something we need to think about now that this other one's come up, because there's going to be the young kids still not catered for.
It does bring in 2 more years that Joe's Farm didn't, the 16 and 17-year-olds, but. Well,
that's true, but there's a lot of them that are going there that would have gone to Joe's Farm, some of them.
Yeah.
But it's the young people that the real problem is. Because others can go to bars and do things, and but and it's a pity that Joe's Farm's not going. But I still think we need to think about something, and perhaps I could discuss it with Eileen and Kirsten about perhaps we know specifically what we're looking for. It's a different sort of thing.
I'm concerned about the outside the fence.
No, I'm not talking about the rugby.
I know, no, I'm talking about anything.
Well, we've discussed it quite a lot, Gary. I'm not sure we've come up with the right answer yet. So,
well, the answer used to be there when there were police from the time. We could not move without police being there. And they just decided to not. It was a policy decision by police. We're right there. We should see them. We're going to people and say, you've got booze in your car. Get out of here. The police will come. They come along, Paul will be there. Everyone just went, wow, and they behaved themselves. But there were police everywhere. That's the long and short of it.
And I think we do need to have an answer.
Yeah, but that's what they've proven in New York. They've put a whole lot of more police around and they stopped the crime. And if you're just going to say, oh, we'll just leave it up to people's good judgment and everything, it's not going to start and happen. Okay, so sorry, it's not strictly members' report, but I think we need to put our minds to it.
Dave, you want to give us a members' report now? It looks like you're unfrozen.
Sound, David.
Sound.
Sorry, Ken, I can't hear you. It's very crumbled. Say again.
Anything for the members' report?
No, nothing from the reports, no.
Okay.
Young GM at the library, and the library meeting this month has been put to next month, so I'll do next week, so I'll go for that, and the swimming pool.
Can I ask about the swimming pool?
And the swimming pool is fantastic.
And it's normal.
27 degrees. It's closed Tuesday and Wednesday.
But apart from that, it's open.
Apart from
It's a
that,
wonderful
it's
facility there.
till 10 o'clock in the morning, from 6 till 10, and then 1 till 5:30.
Well, I just hope my NAE operation works and I get back swimming.
And me too. I broke this the day after I got a 10.
Was that doing a belly flop or a?
No, I was trying to be a mountain goat in the gardens.
Oh, hi. This is some updates really, I suppose. SMP that you've seen has been a 3-year project and it's come together really well. Look, we had a bit of a review when we talked about Whangamatā, and it shows there a line of a 4-metre seawall that's going around from Beach Road right round down into the Moana Estuary in 27 years' time. So some of us will be here, some of us may not be here. That's the only real planned structure for Whangamatā. The sort of the southeast, which normally has a lot of erosion, it's more about controlling the erosion and sloping the slopes and planting the plants and doing those things. And the main beach seems to look after itself. So that's really the outcome of Whangamatā. And as you go around the district, there's quite a detailed approach to everybody's issues as they go around the coast, and some pretty amazing dollars if they have to do some of the things they promised to do. Anyway, so that's come up the end of 27th, I think it is, that final meeting. Is that right, Dawn, 27th, the Shoreline Management Plan meetings?
No, not the June one, it's
August meeting, okay. So that will be signed off and turned into a report and put on a desk. We'll see what happens, yeah. The other one I want to talk about is the Three Waters. The Three Waters, the council signed up to C4LD, that's Communities for Local Democracy, and they've done a draft and they're putting a submission to the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee on the Three Waters. The council has done its promise, what it promised. There was 3 things they promised, and one was that to support rallies, to put some information in the papers about Three Waters and do a submission themselves. They've done a very good submission. That Chief Executive behind me and Mayor will go to Wellington and sit in the select committee and fire the guns. Well done, Bruce. Thank you very much. But I thought it was a very good submission. It's very clear. It talks about local democracy. It talks about assets that we own, and talks about opportunities to try and change the system. And you will see what comes of that. But it's there.
In a nutshell, they're not supporting the Three Waters proposal.
No, definitely here, we don't support it in its current form.
Bruce, how did Sandra take my proposed changes to the?
Yep, no, there's no issues there, no.
No, but I just think that this gives, we got a letter from the minister, and in there she set out in black and white, something which I think needed to be repeated back, and I've got them to enclose that in with a slight little change in the submission, because as I always say, come with your good shots and don't let them think, they've got to think about it beforehand. If you just pull a bit of paper up at the time, the number of times I've heard them say.
To give clarity, what Gary's saying is that we were concerned about the non-resident ratepayers in the model. The model was 75% weighting on the population of the relevant council area. So that didn't include the non-resident ratepayers, which put us at disadvantage. 50% just about disadvantage, wasn't it, in terms of funding. I don't know what's going to happen if the government does change, whether those chances, they think they'll still carry on with that money.
Which money is it? The
2.5 billion.
I guess that remains to be seen once if the government does change, how they come to play things moving forwards. Obviously, a lot of that money will have already been released. And so once that's released, it's released, but it's whether the future any future stages of money that's been talked about, whether that will come through. That will really depend on the government of the day.
Right. Okay, so that's just a little bit about that. The local government changes. I missed out a webinar yesterday. Did you listen to the webinar yesterday? On local government changes, that's been going, watching those and sitting in those. Those changes are quite dramatic, quite big for local government that they move that way. A lot of well-being words being used, so keep you informed of those as they happen. and the changes that might come out of that. Attended Harbour Care AGM meeting and they had a good turnout, 24 people. A lot of support now, a lot of newbies wanting to get on board. So that's very fantastic.
Have they got a new president?
No, they haven't got a new president. No, the president is, they're going to share it amongst the select committees. One will chair each meeting as it comes around. So that's the way. It's very hard to get people to stand in voluntary positions around groups now. It's tough work. So I think the support package that the board's offering to the people around town has been fantastic. I went and saw the local accountants and the IT people about it, and they said the support's been fantastic for them. And the groups really like to have that support so they can get on and do the business they're there for without all their sidelines. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Whangamatā rezoning working group. We'll come up to talk about that. We've got a moment about that. And I've had 7 replies from people, letters over the information centre, and I see that the Lions presented a certificate of appreciation to the information centre for the work they've been doing. So quite a nice thing to do. So that will come up in the next meetings as well, but there's quite a lot of support out there for that operation. That's me.
Yeah, thank you. As we all do, we have communications with the community, and a number of them are around the community grants, people inquiring as to the criteria and process, etc. So I suspect that when we come to consider that, I believe that'll be in September, will it? Yep. We're going to once again have more than we've got allocated, so we'll have that process to work through. So yeah, that'll be our last meeting for this term. We'll be trying to divvy up the 60,000 and please everybody. And just as I think I mentioned last time, I will be somewhere in the outbacks of Australia for the next meeting. So Dave, if you can chair that meeting. And if I have Wi-Fi, I'll try and get on, but I suspect I may not.
So it's a party time in September.
Well. Party time.
From the city.
Okay, so I'll put those members' reports, seconded by Terry. All those in favour? Against, carried. And thank you. That closes the formal meeting. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and we can stop recording.